WNJN Montclair, broadcasting from the campus of Montclair State University.
General Motors is proud to dedicate its local underwriting to Imagenes, a public affairs and cultural program focusing on issues affecting the Hispanic community.
Next on Imagenes, Hispanic teenagers speak out on the issues affecting their lives. Saludos, welcome to Imagenes. I'm Miguel Perez. They are constantly confronting various epidemics which could potentially destroy their lives. AIDS, suicides, drug addiction and alcoholism, rampant gun violence, rape, teenage pregnancy, a rising dropout rate, and racial and ethnic discrimination. How do they cope with the difficulties of reaching adulthood in the 1990s? Are we losing an entire generation, or are we reading in the media only about a minority of bad apples that give a negative image to the entire crate? And the parents, have they failed to listen to their children? In today's program, we let young adults express their fears, their concerns, and their outlook for the future. Here with us today, we have Alejandro Roman, a Rutgers University student and member of the Lambda Sigma Upsilon Latino fraternity. Celeste Hernandez, a student at Barringer High School in Newark and a student leader of ASPIRA of New Jersey. And Rafael Perez, a student at Perth Amboy High School who works on a teenage AIDS prevention program for the Puerto Rican Association for Human Development. Welcome to the program. It's very nice to have you here. We have a lot to discuss. First of all, let me just tell you, I was a teenager in the 1960s. So some 30 years have passed since I was a teenager. Do you think it's different for you than it was for me when I was growing up? Are things harder, better, Celeste, than they were 30 years ago?
To me, they seem to be harder because now, like, a lot of problems are arising, such as AIDS, which has been, I mean, you have more information about it now, and it's developing faster now. And it's just a lot harder because now it's like everybody it's trying to fit in to a certain clique, and everybody, you have to be exactly like them, or otherwise you won't, like, be allowed to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, Rafael, when I was in high school, there were cliques, but there weren't, you couldn't, it was unheard of to hear of somebody bringing a gun to school. Is violence also a factor that has changed things?
Violence is a factor. I mean, there's a lot of fights among teenagers, and they fight over silly reasons, you know, like they'll fight over minor problems. What they should be doing, they should be looking to what they should really be discussing things out instead of fighting.
Mm-hmm. One of the main problems is, as young adults, we don't think about consequences that are going to happen to us in the future. We act quickly, you know, without thinking. If someone bumps into you, instead of saying, excuse me, if they look at you the wrong way, a person is ready to fight. And you don't think of the consequences until it's too late. You know, being a young adult in the 1990s is very difficult. You named the list about 10 items that are really affecting the Latino community.
Well,
without education, which is the main thing that Latinos need at this point in time, we are not going to be able to face all these issues.
We're going to discuss all of them. In fact, we're going to start with a video survey that we conducted, getting a lot of reaction from different Latino youth. So let's watch this survey, that video that reflects the attitudes of many Latinos nowadays.
Living in the 90s is like hell, you know. To get a real job, you need a high school diploma, not even. You have to go beyond that, go to college. And I, for one, I have to do something, you know, sometimes I have to do bad things, good things, just to survive out here, you know. I live alone, just trying to survive in the 90s now.
It's hard trying to fit in and trying to have good friends.
You have to wear like what's in style so people don't make fun of you.
Most people sell drugs to buy clothes because their parents don't make enough money because they hardly didn't come out of high school themselves. And we turn to drugs because that's all we have. And if you don't have the right clothes, you get dissed.
Sometimes they have sneakers up there for $100-something, like Michael Jordan. He can afford those kind of sneakers because he's out there and he's a pro and everything. He don't understand that the kids out here today cannot afford those sneakers. And I don't think it's right because of the simple fact that I can't afford so many. I want everything, new styles come out and stuff like that. I want them. But my mother said to me, you cannot have those right now. And by the time I am ready to get them, they is out of style. And I don't think it's right because people that can't have them, they just sit there and it's like a tease to them.
They're gonna want to steal it if they don't afford it. What I think they should do is like whoever is the same Michael Jordan's pictures on it, he should ask them to lower down the price, cause $200 or something like that for sneakers ain't really worth it. And I don't want the police coming after me because I stole a pair of sneakers.
Living in crime is no good. See, because I've been living in crime all my life, since 10 years old, because I don't got no family out there to help me, to back me up, to give me the love and caring. All I've been doing was raising myself, and the only way I've been doing that is by committing crimes.
Children do not come out of their mother's wombs with pistols in their hands. This is a taught behavior, and we really have to start to understand it.
Right now, the environment in school is like a dangerous environment. It's scary to go to school without having a protection. So I believe that in order to protect themselves and feel less scary, the kids go with guns to school just to protect themselves, to defend themselves against what it could happen.
Right now, if you come from a poor neighborhood, the only person that you see making money is either the drug dealer or, somebody who's not doing anything honest. So I think we should have role models, like people who made it in college or whatever, go back to the communities and help.
Well, there you go. I want to have you react to some of the things that you just heard on the tape. Celeste, you say, you told me before the program began that you knew some of the kids that appeared on that tape, and when they were talking about getting a diploma and about serious concerns, you say that some of them, from personal experience, are not that devoted to getting a diploma and spend more time hanging out at the corner. Tell me about that.
It's like, because they're on TV, they might say a different thing.
Okay.
But then when it's time for school and it's 10 o'clock, they're still hanging out in the corner.
Instead of home studying.
Instead of home, or instead of being in school during school hours, you see mostly everybody in the corner or in the store, or they're just doing other stuff. They want to get a high school diploma, but yet they think that it's going to be handed to them in their hand.
Rafael, there was something I wrote down as we were watching the video, because there was something very significant that one of the students said, and he said, sometimes I have to do bad things just to survive. Do you really have to do bad things just to survive?
I don't think you have to do bad things to survive. I think that most people go by a certain image. They try to keep a hard image amongst their friends in order to be cool. So in order to keep that hard image, he would do bad things. So his friends could approve of him.
When you're in high school, this keeping up your image is very important. Once you get into college, it changes a little bit, and you focus in on other things. But what people in high school don't notice is that, $100 sneakers isn't going to get you into college, isn't going to find you a job, And this problem that people are speaking about, ripping off sneakers off each other and getting beat up, the violence, it's all because of what media has put out there, It's important to wear Michael Jordan sneakers because those are the best, and only the cool people wear them. The problem with that is many Latinos who can't afford it, whose parents can't afford to get them those, have to resort to different things. This is what I believe the guy is saying when he says we got to, do bad things.
And when you get to college, you find that there is not so much pressure to dress a certain way or do certain things?
Once you're in college, you know, you're a little older, you have a lot more responsibilities. And paying for sneakers or to, you know, look exceptionally well isn't as important as passing your classes anymore, you know? One person said that drugs, you know, you want to sell drugs to buy clothes, you know? But selling drugs is killing off the Latino population. They sell it, they use it, you know? And that is something that we Latinos have to get away from, you know, alcohol and drugs.
Well, we recently did a program on the drug situation and how seriously it affects the AIDS epidemic. And Rafael, you're involved in a program to deal with teenagers confronting the AIDS epidemic. Tell me about that program and what you do there.
The program's called Minority Youth Opportunities for the Prevention of HIV Infection. And what we do is we give home presentations, we do one-to-one counseling, and we promote abstinence. And well, we have done some work around other places too. And I think that people are really starting to get it now. They're starting to get the message that they have to protect themselves, at least if they're not gonna practice abstinence.
Is there an attitude among Hispanic young people about, you know, especially among the guys, the machismo thing that, you know, hey, I'm invincible. I don't have to worry about AIDS because nothing can touch me. I'm like, that mentality that perhaps is prevalent in high school, that, you know, hey, I can do anything and I can get away with it. Is that a problem?
Definitely a problem. You know, that's the way you want to feel. And when you're in high school, you want to be able to say, yeah, you know, last night I went out with this girl and we went back and we had sex. That's a big thing, you know. And in high school, if you can't go back and say something like that, you know, something's wrong with you. There's something funny about you. You know, you can't hang out with the guys anymore, this and that. And not for nothing, in college, it's the same thing. You have those same kind of pressures on you, you know. But in college, you have to be a little, in high school, you have to be a little smarter to realize that it's not important, you know, about what happens and all this peer pressure that you have on you. Because, like you said, you can get AIDS, you can get sexually transmitted diseases, you can get all types of things that affect you. You can get a girl pregnant. You know, Latinos and Latinas that have babies is incredibly high. And this is a reason why a lot of them drop out of school. And then they can't go on to college, and they end up, you know, making $20,000 a year instead of being educated and making a lot more.
Celeste, what's with the clothing? You know, I see all these kids. Again, I'm a product of the 1960s. I was a teenager in the 60s, but you know, I see all these kids wearing clothing that looks raggedy, doesn't look very, you know, dressy. But then you find out that they really spent a lot of money on this clothing. I guess that's the style of today. But why the concern for dressing a certain way? Why the concern for spending so much money on clothing when you go to high school? And then doesn't that put a certain amount of pressure on Latino parents who perhaps can't afford to keep up with the cost of this clothing?
A lot of it, the dressing is to fit in. A lot of people have to get these sneakers because their friend has them and they won't look cool, or they won't fit in unless they have the sneakers. And a lot of times it puts pressure on the Latino parents because they can't afford them, so their kids will go out and get it another way, either stealing them or selling drugs to buy the clothes just so they can fit in. And I mean, a lot of people, you see a lot of people in school that they get rejected by other people and they won't talk to them just because they don't have the same clothing. They're the same person. They can be smart, funny, they can be good looking, but if they don't have the clothes and it doesn't look like everybody else's, then they just don't fit in. They're not treated the same way.
The other factor that I guess was mentioned on the tape was the Michael Jordan sneaker syndrome. I think you mentioned it too, Alejandro. And that is the situation where certain role models, especially athletes, promote certain products, clothing or sneakers or whatever, and they supposedly, as role models, should be giving, I think, the example of, you know, of what is good for the community. That is a real role model instead of what you should buy and can afford. Is there discussion among young people about, you know, whether or not these athletes who are promoting certain products are real role models, or are they really out for the buck?
I just think that definitely they're out to make money. You know, they're not there to lower the prices of their sneakers so that more people can enjoy them. They want to get as much money as they can from it. And they know that there are people out there who can afford to pay for the sneakers and that will pay for the sneakers. So as long as there are people out there that are going to buy them for that price, they will continue to sell sneakers for as much money as they have to.
It's not only with sneakers, it's also with liquor, alcohol. They have commercials with rappers in them that they talk about drinking and all that. And that, if they were really role models, they wouldn't be doing something like that, because they know that a lot of youngsters listen to their music, and instead they should promote better health-related topics instead of that.
Okay, we conducted our own little survey of 100 youngsters, and we asked them a bunch of questions about what their concerns, what their problems are as they see them. And first of all, we should say that those 8 to 17 years old said that drugs and crime are the main problem they face. And then the teenagers, a little older, said that the violence and crime were the main problems. But I guess we should look at another videotape that illustrates what some of those concerns are. Let's watch this now.
The teenagers, should be more careful about who they date and who they don't date, because you could know a person very well, and then at night you could take them to the dorms or something, and you could get raped.
Our fraternity is really going to sponsor a safe sex and also a rape prevention program provided by one of our brothers, which is a black belt. So we're going to offer it, and we're sponsoring it.
They have a women's study program here. I think they should have that in high schools too, because I don't have that in high school. They just have counselors. And it's usually that the student has to go to the counselor, whereas this is a seminar, and it doesn't really matter if you have the problem or not. You could just attend and listen.
Back when I was in high school, that's when all this prejudice, that's when I started facing all the prejudice. And there was one person that started saying things to me because of my race. And they started degrading my race in front of me, and they started degrading me. And I didn't say anything at the time because I was still new to the country and new to the fact. So I didn't say anything, but at the end of the day, I felt it, and I think I must have cried a lot after that.
There's so many different cliques where everybody of the same nationality always hangs out together. It's just that way, I've noticed. And when you try to cross over, they're just like, well, hang with your own friend.
They feel that you did this to their great-great-grandparents, so now they want to come back and revenge it. It's just a anger and a revenge that they have to let go of. They got to let the past, learn from the past, but don't live the past.
The way one responds to it is the best way that one can overcome it. You have to not let it influence you, but you're determined to succeed, and you're going to earn the respect of others, no matter how they feel about you.
What I am disappointed with Latino education is in terms of grammar school education. There is not enough teachers, and there's not enough funds to support the bilingual programs.
I work in administration for Rutgers University, and the number one problem we have over here is in retention, in terms of retention, particularly of Hispanic males.
Well, statistics show that a large percentage of Latinos drop at the first or second year of college. I don't know why a lot of us a dropout rate, but I guess maybe it's because of economic reasons, probably.
That's a good subject to pick up on. Why do your colleagues drop out of school? ASPIRA did a survey and found out that in this area, before they reach high school, 65% of young Latinos drop out of school before they reach high school. Why is that happening? You must know some people who dropped out of school. What were the reasons? Did they want to go to work, or did they figure that they could make a better living selling drugs, some of them? Why?
I have a friend that he dropped out in 8th grade. He had stayed back 2 or 3 times in 8th grade, and he felt that he had an attitude. He felt that all of the stuff that they taught you in school was just brainwash. So he just said he just used that as an excuse. But if he tried and he really wanted to graduate, he could have done it. But instead, he just chose to do that, and he dropped out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, many young people, are forced to drop out due to the system. You come from another country, not an American country, and you're 16 years old and they put you in the 6th grade with, 12-year-olds. Apparently, that's going to cause a problem. You feel isolated, they make you feel inferior, and that you don't know anything. And that forces a lot of people just to, give up and quit. Now, that's before high school. Now, once you're in high school, what happens, a lot of people take it for granted. They think it's all fun and games, and they go there to enjoy themselves, to hang out, No one wants to go to class, that movie, I forget, with Edward James Olmos earlier, the guy doesn't want to carry his books around, That actually really happens, It's not just a movie. So that has been, some of the problems that occur.
We heard on the tape a few young Latinas talking about different problems that they face, like teenage pregnancy, like date rape. Do you have girlfriends who have gone through some of these situations?
I have many girlfriends that have been teen mothers, but yet the type of my friends they have, they'll move on. Like a lot of girls from my school, they're teen mothers, and what we have in my school is we have a daycare center. So they bring their kids in and they go to school regularly, pick them up after school, and their kids are taken care of so they can continue their education and not think, oh, I'm a teen mother and that's it, that's the end, and I can't do anything now.
So there are a few of your friends who participate with this program and take advantage of this program.
Yeah.
What about rape? Is that a problem also in the Hispanic community among young Latinas?
Me, really, I wouldn't know because it could be a problem, but if it is, they won't speak out about it.
They keep quiet.
Exactly, they'll keep quiet.
Another problem that was discussed on the tape was prejudice. There's a couple of young women who were talking about how they were discriminated, I guess, by other students, perhaps by even teachers. Have you experienced anything like that when you were in high school? Alejandro, you're smiling.
More so in college than in high school, believe it or not. When you go to college, you kind of learn about yourself, and people come up to you and they want you to stress your cultural identity. So you're Latino, you're proud, and like one of the young ladies said, you hang out with Latinos. Problem with that is the blacks stay with blacks, the Chinese with Chinese, the white with white. And instead of integrating, we separate ourselves more sometimes. And that's not necessarily good. We need to learn about each other. And as the black man said, you can't live in the past. And we have to be able to set aside, all our differences and learn from each other. And one difference in college as opposed to high school is that they have programs for this, multicultural programs. As opposed in high school, they really don't have those type of programs.
A little while ago, Rafael mentioned the beer commercials, but alcoholism is also a big problem among Latino youths. Talk to me about that. Do you see a lot of kids drinking before or after school or during school or in the cafeteria, or what happens?
There's a lot of drinking going on, a lot of people with their 40s. That's like the famous word. And a lot of people, like, they're constantly drinking at night. Like a couple months ago, some girl came to school and she was talking to me, and all I could smell was alcohol in her breath. And it made me nauseous.
Do the teachers detect that too? If you could notice his alcohol in the breath? What
if
do the
they
teachers
notice
do
it,
about
they're not saying anything about it. And a lot of the times you have a lot of students that come to school drunk, and after they got out of school, they might be hanging out outside drinking. Or on Fridays, they just love Fridays because they go clubbing and drinking. That's the thing. Like in my family, there's a cousin of mine that she goes out and all she does is drink. Or it's like wherever she goes, there has to be alcohol there because that's the thing now. Everybody wants to drink. Or if it's not, it's drugs.
Well, there is some advice that we have another tape with some students giving advice to their fellow Latinos. So let's watch that videotape before we cut out.
Sex is something you're supposed to, share with someone that you want to have for the rest of your life. And you shouldn't, just do it just to do it because it's a style, and because everybody's doing it. I think it's something intimate you just share with a partner. And since when you have your virginity and you lose it to someone, you can't get it back.
Stay away from sex because it'll just mess up their lives.
and just don't listen to what other people tell you. They should know who their real friends are. Stay away from people who take you away from being what you want to be, and not use drugs just so that you could be called the cool one in the class.
Sounds like good advice, but what else can you add to that? I want each one of you to finish the program by giving us some advice to your fellow Latino young people. What should they be doing to prevent some of these problems that we've been discussing on the program? Celeste, let's start with you.
To me, the main thing is educate yourself, because if you don't educate yourself, you're going to be ignorant to it. Therefore, you're just going to go along with what everybody else says, not what you learn, with what you know.
Mm-hmm. Alejandro, the college student here.
Basically, one would be educate yourself, and two would be to have pride in yourself. You know, be happy whether you're gonna make $5 an hour at a job. You know, that's better than going out selling drugs and not being able to enjoy the rest of your life because you're gonna be in jail. You know, it's just have pride in yourself in everything you do.
Rafael.
I think my advice for all the youngsters is that you have to be yourself, because if you try to fit in with other people, you're gonna be led to do wrong things. So if you be yourself and you're not concerned with what other people think or what other people say, you could do right for yourself.
Okay, it's been a pleasure having all of you here. We really enjoyed it. I think we should do this more often. I think what all of you have been saying in today's program is that richness is not determined by the clothes that you wear or by how much money you may have in the bank or the kind of car you drive, but more importantly by what you feel inside. Richness is what you have in your mind through your education and what you feel inside that you've accomplished something. Even like Alejandro said, making $5 an hour, but you feel good about yourself. You feel good about how you did it. And you feel good about being a Latino. And you have that Latino pride inside of you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We hope that your advice is observed and listened to by a lot of other Latinos. Thank you very much. My name is Miguel Perez, and I'll see you next week on another edition of Imagenes. Hasta pronto.
General Motors is proud to dedicate its local underwriting to Imagenes, a public affairs and cultural program focusing on issues affecting the Hispanic community.